Growing up, I always loved playing with numbers. I knew when I go to uni and eventually get a job, it has to be something in the mathematical field. And my dream came true. I was able to go to university to do something in the mathematical field. But unfortunately, I got sick and my dream had to change because of my illness. And I started looking for information and ways to support myself because of that illness. And that's what I'm doing right now through my Mind, My Funk. I can't remember exactly how old I was. I think I was in high school. And one of my uncles had a computer college up the road. So over the weekend, he'd invite me over and ask me either to do print work for him or type a few things for him. So that for me was really exciting, not because he'd give me money at the end of the day, but because of the responsibilities he'd give me. So sometimes he'd give me the work and he'd go run for an errand, and I'm left there with all those computers and buttons, and it felt really nice. And the skills I learned from there, how to be responsible, how to be organized, are the things I use in my organization today. My dream changed from being a mathematician to providing information and support for people living with epilepsy. And what was a passionate idea in my head is now a tangible entity, my Mind, My Funk, and you're in the hub today. And I would love this hub not just to be this one location where I am based, but several locations spread across the country where people living with epilepsy and their families can get information and the support they need. I'd also want to expand that information and support to an online service and a hotline where people living with epilepsy can be able to call in or can be able just to log in and get the information and support they need. My Mind, My Funk's vision is to have an Africa where people living with epilepsy and their families can be able to get information and support. So I'd also eventually like the resource center to spread across the whole continent. Education is a very important factor in one's life. It doesn't really have to be the formal type where you go sit in a class, get a certificate, have a graduation at the end. It can be the informal type. What is really key in life is getting to acquire skills and getting to acquire knowledge, because those are the things that guide how we think, how we behave, how we manage the little or the many resources that come our way. In my own experience and in the work that I'm doing right now, I got informal education and I've been able to impact many people, and I'm looking forward to impact even more people. If I got two applications from someone living with epilepsy and another person who does not have epilepsy for a job I put out for my Mind, My Funk, the fact that either of them has or does not have epilepsy is not a factor I will consider when choosing them for the job. So I will look at what is required and what skills or contributions they'll bring into the company. People living with epilepsy can do any type of work. They just need to know what their triggers are, because different people have different triggers. So you need to know what your triggers are, but you can do any type of work. And you do not really have to disclose that you have epilepsy when you're going to apply for a job, because there's still an overwhelming amount of stigma. So the key thing is knowing what your triggers are, how to control them, and you can do any type of work that you'd want to do. I believe volunteering is a good way to acquire skills and knowledge, especially for people who have challenges in getting jobs, mainly because maybe they didn't go to school. I am a product of volunteer work. When I dropped out of university and I was getting sick a lot, no one wanted to give me a job. I couldn't go back to school. I did a lot of volunteer work. I volunteered as a mathematics teacher in a children's home here in Ngong. And from that, I was able to keep myself busy, which reduced my stress levels. and I was also able to acquire more skills from doing the volunteer work. So I'd advise people who are, I would say, in between jobs and education and searching what's next for them, especially when you've just been diagnosed with epilepsy and you have that recurring thought of this is the end of my life for me. You can try out volunteering. What I'd advise is make sure you're not being taken advantage of. So as much as most people say you're volunteering, so you'll do anything you're told to do. Just when you're beginning, be able to say, this is how far I can go, because you don't want to have a situation where you have epilepsy and you've been stressed and you've come to volunteer to reduce the amount of stress. So you're working negatively. I have two major lists in my life. I have a bucket list where I just pile everything I'd want to do. Then I have a timetable, which is more or less what we used to use in high school. And through the timetable, I'm able to balance and prioritize what tasks I have to do for the day and also project for the week. And my greatest priority is my health. So that is the greatest thing. So when I put things down, I have to make sure my health comes first. And I've learned with time that I can't do everything for everyone every time. So I also have moved from feeling guilty when I'm not able to honor a meeting or honor an appointment. Be yourself. Do not try being someone or something you're not. You are your greatest asset.